Sustainable Cities, Collaboration as an Architectural Project for the Intervention of Public Space for Children. Again, I'm Ari Sobando. I'm the Assistant Dean for Research and Advanced Studies of the Gokongwei College of Engineering. And as part of the organizing committee, we have Dr. Kathleen Aviso, the Dean of the Gokongwei College of Engineering of De La Salle University, Philippines. Also, we have the Vice President for Research and Innovation of De La Salle University, Dr. Raymond Tan. Also, the Director of the Center for Engineering and Sustainable Development Research, Professor Albin Culava, and the De La Salle University University Sustainability Office, we have Mr. Rodel Masilungan. And to start off our lecture for today, we'll start first with a very brief prayer. So let us put ourselves in the presence of God.
Let me be the change I want to see, to do with strength and wisdom all that needs to be done, and become the hope that I can be. Set me free from my fears and hesitation. Grant me courage and humility. Fill me with spirit to face the challenge and start the change I long to see. Today I start the change I want to see. Even if I'm not the light, I can be a spark in faith, service, and communion. Let us start the change we want to see, the change that begins in me. Today I start the change I want to see.
Even if I'm not the light,
I'm not the light, I can be the spark. Faith, service, and communion. Let us start the change we want to see, the change that begins in me.
Jesus in us.
Jesus in
Hey, before we proceed with our lecture, we will have an introduction of the La Salle Sustainability Lecture Series, which would be provided by the Vice President for Research and Innovation of De La Salle University, Manila, Philippines. Let us all welcome Dr. Raymond Tan.
Yes, thank you very much to our friends from different parts of the world. Good afternoon or good evening. This lecture series has its genesis in the late 2020 when my colleagues, Professor Aviso, Professor Colaba, and Chancellor Emeritus Carmelita Kibenko and myself thought it would be a good idea in the midst of the lockdowns caused by the pandemic, to organize webinars on a regular basis, allow colleagues to share activities and their research pertaining to sustainability. The lecture series was launched in January of 2021, inspired in equal parts by, first of all, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and second, the 2015 papal encyclical known as Laudato Si, both of which enjoined people to re-examine lifestyles and pursue a path towards sustainability. The lecture series is organized in collaboration with IALU, the International Association of LaSalle Universities. This is a global network of higher education institutions that are all descended from the early work of Saint LaSalle and his brothers in France. The work that we've done over the past 4 years has led to a rich array of talks and lectures and discussion sessions that are held every month via Zoom, which are also recorded and put in YouTube for late viewing. And we've experimented with various modes of delivery as well, including hybrid lectures and delivery in languages such as Spanish. And I believe we've tried Portuguese at least once. And of course, the lecture series, nearly 4 years later, still going strong. I think it has provided a very nice platform for different academics from the IALU network to continue to share their work, not just with other IALU colleagues, but with an audience which has come from different countries all over the world. And today we come full circle, and we have a colleague from Mexico to give us some interesting developments in their work on urban spaces. So with that, I want to thank all the people who are involved in organizing this. Since the initial 4 people, of course, we brought into the team Professor Obando, Dr. Nigo Sumagang, our former PhD student, and much more recently, the entire University Sustainability Office team, represented here by Riodel of USO. So with that, I hope you all find today's lecture to be stimulating, and I hope it inspires you to follow a path towards green lifestyles and green mindsets. Thank you, and good day to everyone.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tan, for that inspiring welcome remarks and also introducing the LaSalle Sustainability Lecture Series. And we are truly blessed to have our lecture today. As mentioned, this would be focusing on urban spaces and sustainability cities. And just to provide some introduction, why this is aligned with our lecture, and also to introduce the Center for Engineering and Sustainable Development Research. This is the lone center of the Gokongwei College of Engineering at De La Salle University, Manila, Philippines. The CESDAR, as we call it, which is being head by our director, Professor Alvin Colaba. Please say hi to be recognized by everyone, Professor Colaba. Okay, so just to introduce the center, thank you so much, Professor Colaba. Just to introduce the center, CESDAR is actually aimed to promote sustainability research among the College of Engineering faculty, and to introduce our lecture for this morning. It is entitled Research, Action, and Participation for Inclusive, Safe, and Sustainable Cities, Collaboration as an Architectural Project for the Intervention of Public Space for Children. This is truly indeed a timely lecture for this morning's or for today's event. Now, to introduce our speaker for today. Our speaker is Dr. Lorena Karina Broca Dominguez. She was originally from Salapa, Veracruz, Mexico, an architect with a specialty in construction from the Universidad Veracruzana. She completed the degrees in Master in Architectural Design from the Benemérita Universidad Autónoma de Puebla and Master in Education Technology and Doctorate in Architecture from the Interinstitutional Program of the University of Guanajuato and Universidad Michoacana San Nicolas de Hidalgo. Her research is in line with history and conservation of architecture and the sustainable city. She has worked as a teacher for 17 years and in the professional activity of architecture, she is an independent designer. Her fields of interest revolve around urban and architectural sustainability, architectural semiotics, criticism, historical, artistic and industrial heritage, and intercultural processes in the field of spatial appropriation and memory. She is a member of the International Committee for the Conservation of the Industrial Heritage and a participant in the Interinstitutional Seminar on Historical Studies of Oaxaca. She is an author and speaker at various conferences related to topics of territory and architectural space. Since 2015, she lived in Oaxaca. She is an undergraduate and graduate teacher and a leader of the PCT research group, or the Process of Critical Teaching, Research, and Territory for Interculturality at the La Salle University, Oaxaca, where she is also the Director of Graduate and Research. Again, ladies and gentlemen, let us all welcome our speaker for this morning, Dr. Lorena Karina Broca Dominguez.
Thank you so much. I'm very happy to be here. And I'm going to share a video of our university, La Salle, Oaxaca, but it's in Spanish. So if you can see your chat, I will share with you the translation in English because you can follow.
Fe, fraternidad y servicio. Estos son los pilares de nuestra comunidad, los valores que caracterizan y fortalecen nuestra misión educativa en el mundo y en nuestro estado. Somos una universidad joven que refleja el espíritu y entusiasmo de cada una de las personas que la integran. Somos una familia que ha transformado un sinnúmero de historias y que hombro con hombro da lo mejor de sí cada día para aportar lo que tenemos en beneficio de nuestra sociedad. Hoy, agradecemos a aquellas personas, aquellos cimientos, aquellos sueños que impulsaron nuestra misión educativa y que ahora miramos con anhelo, compromiso, esperanza y fe los tiempos por venir. Agradecemos profundamente a las personas que desde la concepción de este proyecto han aportado su fe y su servicio. A Oaxaca, esta hermosa tierra por recibir con afecto y entusiasmo la misión lasallista. A los padres de familia que confían la educación de sus hijos en nosotros, a nuestros aliados que han fortalecido los objetivos de nuestra casa de estudios en la búsqueda del bien común. A colaboradores, instituciones y autoridades educativas, pero sobre todo a la comunidad de estudiantes y egresados que nos construyen cada día y que tienen la fe puesta en hacer de nuestra casa común un mejor lugar. Celebramos la obra de un soñador que impulsó su misión alrededor del mundo, una visión que llegó a nuestro estado para fortalecer su crecimiento y abonar a que cada joven estudiante encuentre su vocación y la ponga al servicio de la sociedad. Continuemos caminando juntos, en comunidad, mirando hacia el futuro y el porvenir. Bienvenidos a Oaxaca. Bienvenidos a la Universidad La Salle. Indivisa Manen. Lo unido permanece.
Now I'm going to share my PowerPoint. Very good. Good morning and good afternoon. My name is Lorena Karina Broca Dominguez. I will make a confession now that I have my notes translated into English so that this conversation flows. If I make any mistakes in pronunciation, I apologize in advance, but I swear that I will do my best. I will present the results of a project that has various institutional impacts. It started as a research exercise and concluded with an intervention in public space, which was published as a book co-edited by the Polytechnic University of Catalonia and La Salle, Oaxaca. Other institutions and organizations also collaborated to obtain resources. Thank you for all of them. Before starting, I would like to give you some context and background information about the place. If some of you have already had the opportunity to visit Oaxaca, what I am about to share will be familiar. If not, allow me to share the information by locating the state on the map. Oaxaca is located in the south of Mexico in the American continent. It is marked in red color. The territory of Oaxaca is characterized by its cultural diversity, variety of ethnicities and languages that dominate the state. It is comprised of 8 cultural regions that are visualized on colored map. It was part of the Marquesate of the Valley of Oaxaca, an important moment in Mexican history that lasted 3 centuries, from 1521 with the Spanish invasion until the beginning of the independent period in 1821. According to the Organization of World Heritage Cities, the primary historical function of Oaxaca was religious and agricultural, which possesses a great cultural burden due to the abrupt and violent fusion of 2 peoples, the Spanish and the Mesoamerican. Oaxaca is one of the 32 states of Mexico. It has the largest number of municipalities. They are 570, of which 418 are governed by a political organization system not imposed by the state, called usos y costumbres, customs and traditions, which is a mode of reproduction of social and political organization. These 2 elements about the number of municipalities and type of political organization of the indigenous people are presented because a vital aspect of understanding the territory is the cultural diversity and the persistent struggle of the peoples to preserve their identity. Oaxaca has the origins in American times. around 2500 BC, and a settlement dates back to around 1500 BC. Various pre-Columbian ethnic groups such as Zapotecs, Mixtecs, Chinantecs, and Mixes have converged here. Monte Albán is one of the largest pre-Columbian cities in the Americas. Oaxaca is a colonial city of Mexico, and according to Vargas Lugo, Oaxaca's colonial architecture constitutes one of the richest, most original, and notable sets of the artistic treasure of the country, which accounts for a historical and cultural influence from the times of the Spanish invasion. The photograph shows the Church of Santo Domingo de Guzman. Oaxaca has a rich cultural heritage, galleries, museums, and a significant historic center. Its ethnic groups make great efforts to preserve their identity. On July, the Guelaguetza Festival is celebrated. The true meaning of Guelaguetza is related to the members of a community coming together and sharing the cultural heritage and all the things that make them unique. The festival reflects a human attitude inherent from birth, inviting love for others and sharing nature and life. However, it has also become a tourist attraction that, on the one hand, brings economic income from foreign tourism, but also causes price increases and gentrification. In contrast, there is a strong contradiction, as Oaxaca is one of the poorest states in the country. Coneval, which stands for the National Council for the Evaluation of Social Development Policy, defines poverty as follows: when a person has at least one social deprivation in the 6 indicators of educational backwardness: access to health services, access to social security, quality and space of housing, basic services in housing, and access to food, and their income is insufficient to acquire the goods and services needed to meet their food and non-food needs. But here we are. Here is the work of La Salle at La Salle, Oaxaca. To contribute to the Sustainable Development Goals number 11, make cities and human settlement inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable, and of course, with the encyclical proposed by Pope Francis, we have this project. A community inter-university workshop was proposed in the city of Oaxaca de Juarez to rethink and study the improvement of a school center's environment, especially its nearby public space. A series of participatory sessions with concrete action was proposed involving local and international architecture students, as well as the local community and the children. The activities were carried out with the support of Arquitectos de Capcelera from a socially committed perspective and using a methodology of urban co-creation. In this context, this inclusive workshop invited the students to think and design improvements around school centers based on the everyday experience of children and their families. This slide shows the proximity of the intervention site, which was a school located in one of the neighborhoods that were among the first to grow outside the urban sprawl towards the historic center. A main avenue runs through it, marking the difference between an area with better conditions towards the historic center and worse conditions where the primary school to be intervened is located. The main objective of this collaboration is to bring architecture and public space design closer to society, understanding it as a tool accessible to citizens to achieve fairer cities. Additionally, the task developed aimed to improve health and well-being through public space, sustainable communities, and gender equality, not only theoretically, but also practically. The project has pedagogical purposes, teaching as participatory practices and communication methodology that brings architectural practice closer to the reality of communities. The goals include the direct transformation of a public space that enhances the daily life of the residents of the neighborhood, and the strategic goal with future theoretical publications that highlight other unresolved urban issues, allowing the project to be replicated in other locations within the city, positioned positioning this project with a broader theoretical framework and enabling possible future workshops. The specific objectives are set at 3 levels. Number 1, analyze, study, and co-design public space improvements in the vicinity of the least 1 and up to 3 public schools in the city of Oaxaca. Number 2, collaborate in the training of the architecture students concerning public space design, using a methodology with an inclusive, sustainable, and socially committed perspective. Additionally, foster inter-university learning, in which faculty from Barcelona also learn other ways of conceiving or managing public space. And number 3, create a kit of ideas and best practices for transforming the public space surrounding the educational centers in the city of Oaxaca into a safer and more inclusive environment. This is the planning. In the specific case of this workshop within the geography of the city of Oaxaca, working in a children's school context, it's important to consider how a decision made from a child's perspective can impact. It is also essential to look at existing risk in these indicators. It is crucial for the student body and society in general to ask themselves 2 questions. What type of violence do I recognize? What types of violence do I exert? Given the importance of the research group's attitude towards the people being studied to obtain reliable information and create a bond of trust, it is advisable to consider the following guidelines. Get down to the level of the children of his height. Avoid infantilizing. Use clear and simple language. Avoid guiding their speech. Listen and read between the lines. Observe if their speech follows their gestures, paraverbal language. Appreciate not only their time, but also their knowledge. I'm sorry. I have a little problem here with my presentation. Okay. The course program consisted of these development stages, led by a team of experts professors who guided and supported the students working with children. The developments and transformations of cities worldwide, despite depending on multiple factors, are almost always the result of a response to capitalist logic, increasingly and at accelerated pace or steps. Nevertheless, architecture and by extension the transformation of cities, in theory, is conceived for the emancipation of human communities and recently non-human communities, that is to say, in interspecies coexistence, integrating the environment. However, it is evident that architecture has drifted and continues to drift away from this initial purpose due to the inequalities stemming from capitalist logic. Where people can self-realize in their environment, resembling an ecosystem in which each user not only cares for the space, but also for each other. This approach has been adopted by several notable figures in the 20th century, such as Jane Jacobs, whose ideas remain pertinent today. She clearly demonstrated that urban space is complex and diverse. She was committed to observing the inhabitants' experience. Her approach contrasted with that of many functionalists who wanted to simplify and organize neighborhoods or demolish them if the municipal administration deemed it necessary. Among her ideas is the importance of public space as a safe and pleasant meeting place where everyone can self-realize and whose security and well-being are ensured by buildings that overlook the public space. This is the sidewalk, so that many eyes can keep watch. De Carlo believed It was vital to define needs by including people's perspectives. He proposed a method in which defining users' needs led to concretizing the program and important design guidelines for the project architecture. In this sense, it is not coincidental that these inter-university cooperation workshops proposes to act in Oaxaca de Juárez. It aims to foster and confront various ideas and strategies to respond to specific needs that can be formulated from simple questions about the current state of public spaces, working from the users and more peculiarly from children. These questions are important and led of research. It's easy to be a child in this neighborhood. Is it easy to grow old in this city? Can one enjoy this street safely? Is it pedestrian friendly? Is it healthy? Can one enjoy the space and interact with it creatively? Or does the urban environment not meet the residents' need and, on the contrary, foster an unsafe atmosphere? What are the current needs of children in this urban fragment? A tactical prototype is an experimental in situ intervention strategy at a one-to-one scale. It modifies the conditions of urban space with aim of questioning existing uses and testing improvement alternatives. It can be considered a full-scale model that can be modified over time. It is also known as a tactical urbanism, as opposed to traditional urbanism of permanent reforms that mobilize large resources. It is reversible. So beyond sparking debate, it allows for an easy return to the original conditions, especially if the change is not deemed appropriate or if it needs to lead to the consolidation of the proposal through permanent interventions. Tactical urbanism can be planned and institutional or informal and derived from activism. In the latter scenario, tactical actions are an impeccable platform for transferring the tactics of social resistance movements to urbanism or hacking the city through surprising actions. It can be complemented by triggering actions. The students began their journey to identify the elements and people who circulate the public space around the school daily and ask them questions. They leave the space and became the informants. At 9 in the morning, the 5th grade students were received in their previously selected and prepared classroom for the activities to be carried out. The working method consisted essentially of conducting interviews through recordings, taking photographs and portraits, and making drawings of the space, taking notes of the sensations and the perceptions. The first activity involved identifying places through photographs. From the beginning, boys and girls quickly identified the places shown to them, must know their neighborhood well, with the pharmacy and the neighborhood market being the places the most children identified. Subsequently, the second activity, which consisted of drawing on cardboard, continued. Once the activity began, different points of view of children regarding how they perceive their environment could be seen. As they are in the 5th grade, they are more aware of what happens in their community and understand what happens. Through their anecdotes and experience, children depicted the insecurity they perceive in the neighborhood, pointing to one of the corners of the school as a place where some individuals go to use drugs, as well as the presence of some vehicles without license plates and adults who offer them sweets and toys to accompany them, and also harassment towards women, particularly under the Yellow Bridge over the Ring Road, where incidents of robbery are mentioned. About the cognitive process are what enable knowledge and interaction with our surroundings. They include memory, language, perception, thought, and attention. This process helps us understand their importance as they help us feel secure. In this way, one could visualize their memories, perceptions, and gain a genuine vision of how they interact and relate to their environment to identify the needs or deficiencies or public spaces from the perspective of children, as well as visualize interactions with other community members and understand the social fabric of the neighborhood. A sketch of the neighborhood was drawn so that the students could locate their homes, the route they take to get to school, the areas where they feel happiest or saddest, and what they would like to have in the neighborhood. For this activity, cutouts with illustrations depicting each of these activities were used. The children charted and pasted these cutouts of the sketch, which served to identify the spaces where problems are located and analyze public spaces to provide viable solution. As a conclusion to these days working with children, we can highlight that they would like to have safe play areas with lighting, as well as illuminated streets, so they feel secure while walking through them. The information was drawn on more technical sketches to identify hostile areas around the school that are susceptible to intervention. Through drawings made by the children, it was identified how the space is perceived as the child becomes more aware with age. Here we see the elements perceived by a first grade child compared to those of a fourth grade child. About the intervention, the area surrounding the school was overrun with parked cars, so street space was reclaimed for play areas to ensure children could safely circulate after school. To carry out the work, architecture students call upon the community to work collectively under a traditional Oaxaca scheme called tequio. Tequio can be understood as a form of unpaid community participation that involves collaboration with civic religious positions, public services, and contributions or cooperations. It is a structure and organization of indigenous peoples and communities, part of a community organization where members participate in decisions and internal management. Everyone participates. Children, neighbors, elementary school teachers, and architecture students. They had a master plan which they represented architecturally to fulfill. These photographs show how the children appropriated the space, turning it into a meeting point for the neighborhood committee, bringing the area to life and making it safer for its inhabitants. These photographs are recent. The space is still used and managed by the community of neighbors, which was the goal, to empower the residents to improve security and provide a dignified space for the children. The conclusions may be very simple, but very important. They add greatly to human spirit and the nobility of the cause, the children. They are often not considered as individuals with opinions that matter. They were the most important social actor in this research. We saw many benefits from this program. We achieved that our students incorporate human elements into their projects. A research process, participatory design, and research tools and techniques were applied, and not even in grand architecture or monumental architecture, simple actions can change people's worlds and daily lives and their safety. The workshop lasted 15 days, but the learning spanned a whole semester. The international experience of interacting with foreign students offered them an internationalization experience, and the students acquired communication and teamwork skills in a real project, negotiating with neighbors, school teachers, and securing resources. Institutionally achieving a linkage with other universities where we share a project and a common cause that ends with an international open access publication adds value to the project. And that is all. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lorena, for sharing your project on the architectural urban design for children. Okay, so now we proceed with the question and answer portion. So may I invite our participants for their question? But while waiting for their question, I'm sure you've shared already some of the risk involved in the project. What are some of the challenges that you have faced while doing or designing the project?
I think the main challenge is work with a lot of people that has to show their ideas and have agreements, because they were maybe like 50 students from 2 countries, and then to work with people in the neighborhood. Here in Oaxaca is very difficult because sometimes people don't want to receive another people that they don't know. I think that it was the first and the main challenge. But I think that when you talk with them and you can share what is your objective and you don't want anything about them, they can perceive that there are a noble spirit and you have a not interest in another thing objective. So they add to the project with all their heart, and really it was a very good project because a lot of people was very happy, students, teachers, the students, the children, and the neighborhood. And this project, we didn't have any help of government, and this is an interesting thing too, because it's a very bad reality that they don't have to have the charge of resolve these kind of things.
Yeah, so indeed, those are some of the challenges that you have faced. I think we have one question in our chat box. This is coming from Alona Ardales, and she mentions, hi, Dr. Dominguez. Good morning. I'm grateful to you for sharing with us your project. Am I right that you mobilized the Lasallian students to help or assist in this project? If yes, how did you process their experiential learning as they engage in the community?
Yes, this story is very important that we have this opportunity to participate in this project, because last year I was in charge of work the modification of our postgraduate program in architecture that we have in here in school. So I have an interview with Saida Muxi, that she is an important urbanist that is a researcher. So she told me, "Oh, you are from Oaxaca. I can connect with you with a college that he wants to make a project in that place." So in that day, I received an email, and we began to work. What were we going to do, and how many students can we work? For another university that is the Autonomous University here in Oaxaca, La Salle, Oaxaca, and the Barcelona students. And so this is the first step that I mobilize the students. And then we were in this workshop 15 days. We were using a methodology and a toolkit to identify all these things that I have shown. And then, yes, I assist my students in this project in that way. My process para experiential learning as they engage in the community. Okay. Okay, I think that there are a lot of things that we can found in books, and this has to be an experience talking with people, the community, to have a safe process with our students that we are responsible of them, but we were in that place every day with them and with the neighborhood. And for me, it was new experience in tactical urbanism, because I saw it always on books. And maybe you can know that in Spain is very common to see tactical urbanism, but here in Mexico or here in Oaxaca, no, the city is for the cars, not for people, not for the neighbors. And so I think that I grew up in my experience, like a teacher, like a professor, like a researcher, and my students and children's, we have, they teach for us all the knowledge that children have.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Lorena. And now that you already have achieved this project, was able to implement the project, what are now your next steps for the project?
We were worried that it could be just an exercise, and once we leave the neighborhood, that maybe we could lose all the efforts that we made. But it was a good notice to us that when we we returned to the place, people was watching, caring, maintaining the place, and it was the first check it up that we will something very good. And now we want to make the same exercise in another neighborhoods here in Oaxaca, where we could found a school with these conditions. And here in the university in La Salle, Oaxaca, outside, we want to do the same, because we have a problem with the urban transportation, with the buses. It causes a lot of accidents, and we want to reduce all the impacts that the cars and all the buses has, and more important, that the people, that is the worst scenario.
Thank you so much for sharing your plans and also expanding it to other communities. I can see that we have a question from Dr. Katina Viso. So she mentions, how long have the design changes been put in place, and what are the main changes in the condition of the neighborhood?
How long have the design changes been put in place? Maybe it was like a 4 days of the 15 days that we make the workshop. The last 4 days, we have this work in this scheme called Tequio. And the main changes in the conditions of the neighborhood, I think that is the security. that
Mm.
children feel safe, because the space has more visuals to neighbors to see who is in the street. The children can play when they finish their classes and they go to home. I think that this is the main change in the condition, because this is a project that emerged of the volunteers. We don't have any resources to make more changes. I would like to have it, but maybe it could be in another project, maybe with a association that we can help us. But I think that at this moment, with the resources that we can found with the families, with the neighbors, and the students too, it was enough to do some important for the neighborhood.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Lorena. We have a message from Umakantra Mishra. Thank you, Professor, sharing your experience of Mexican people. I was working as a postdoc in Tecnológico de Monterrey and UDM. Okay.
Yes.
Perhaps, Dr. Lorena, I know it's a challenge for this type of project to really sustain, and you need, of course, the help of the volunteers to really push through with the project. We have participants from all over the world. If they plan to implement this type of project in their community, what are your some tips or words of wisdom that you can share to them?
The first one is to know, to identify who is your social actor, your main social actor. A lot of times we think from architecture that the main thing that we are going to do is the building or the action. But the first thing that you have to identify is who is the people that you are going to help, that you are going to make a service from your professional your work that you do everything every day. This is the main thing. And the second, to incorporate them to the project, because the second mistake is consider that we know everything when you are making a project in architecture, or you are if you have an intervention on the city. There are these two ideas that I think that are very important when you are going to make a project. And if you are going to make an intervention on the city, it's always that you have to know who is that people. And thinking in intercultural view, if we have traditions or customs, ideas different, so I have to know you. Is the first step.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Lorena, for that message. Any additional questions for Dr. Dominguez? Perhaps we can accommodate one more question. Okay, I guess none. So again, let's all give a round of applause to our speaker today, Dr. Lorena Karina Broca Dominguez. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and your project to us. It is indeed an inspiring project, and we hope our participants learn a lot from this lecture series. And we are sharing now the slide for us to give us some feedback to further improve the delivery of the LaSalle Sustainability Lecture Series. So again, let's all give a round of applause to Dr. Dominguez. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Have a nice day.
All right. So before we end, we would just like to remind everyone that we would have again. I think this would be our last lecture series, which is scheduled next month, November. I think November. Let me just check very quickly. Okay, this is scheduled on November. Last week of November 27, and this would be entitled, okay, Effects of Brick Kilns in the Urban Area of Leon Towards the Construction of a Lasallian Environmental Network. And we would have our speaker from Universidad La Salle, Bajo, Mexico, Dr. Andres Cruz Hernandez. And that would be next month's La Salle Sustainability Lecture. So again, thank you so much for your time for today. We would love to hear from you, your feedback to further improve our delivery of the La Salle Sustainability Lectures. This is Ari Sobando signing off. Thank you so much and have a good day.
Thanks, everyone.